You've been told your loneliness is a problem, a wound to heal, a gap to fill. They've sold you apps, distractions, and shallow connections as medicine for a sickness that doesn't exist. Every time you're alone, you feel it, that whisper from the world. You should be out there. You should be with someone. You're missing something. You're falling behind. But what if the loneliness isn't the problem? What if it's the symptom of something else, something they don't want you to know because it would make you unstoppable? What if the very thing they use to shame you, your isolation, your separateness, your inability to fit in, is actually the forge where unshakable men are made? Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming yourself. And here's the part they hid from you. Individuation requires loneliness, not as a side effect, as a prerequisite. Every great man in history was lonely, not because no one wanted to be around him, because he chose the forge over the crowd, and the crowd hated him for it. They think isolation is your weakness, but you're about to learn why it's the only way a man becomes dangerous in the right way. You were not supposed to know this. That's why they've spent your whole life trying to pull you back into the herd. Today, you stop listening. Let me tell you what they did. They built a world that punishes solitude and rewards noise, a world where being alone is suspect and being constantly available is virtue. They told you that wanting to be alone meant you were depressed, that needing space meant you were broken, that enjoying your own company meant you were arrogant. So you filled your life with noise, with people who drain you, with nights out you didn't want, with conversations that felt like currency exchange, not connection. And the loneliness didn't go away. It got worse. Because loneliness in a crowd is the worst kind. At least when you're alone, you're honest about it. Here's what no one tells you. The loneliness you feel isn't rejection by the world. It's the world's inability to reach you. You're not isolated. You're out of range. The people who call you lonely are the same people who can't sit in silence for 5 minutes without checking their phones. Their opinion on solitude is worthless. They need constant validation, constant distraction, constant noise, because when it gets quiet, they hear something they're terrified of, the sound of their own emptiness. You're not afraid of silence. You're not afraid of being alone. That's not a weakness. That's a superpower in a world addicted to noise. But they needed you to believe loneliness was a disease, because lonely people think, and thinking people are hard to control, hard to sell to, hard to lead into battle for someone else's cause. Every system, social media, dating apps, groupthink culture, is designed to keep you in the herd, because the herd is manageable. The lone wolf is not. Your loneliness is not a malfunction. It's a warning label. It's telling you that you've outgrown the room you're in, and the only way to find a bigger room is to leave this one. So stop trying to fit back into a room you've outgrown. Stop begging to be accepted by people you've evolved past. The loneliness is not punishment. It's proof of growth. Carl Jung was not a crowd pleaser. He spent years in self-imposed isolation, traveling into the depths of his own psyche while the world called him mad. He knew something the extrovert world refuses to admit, that the most important conversations a man will ever have are not with other people. They're with himself. He called the process individuation, becoming a single, indivisible self, and he said it could only happen in solitude, because in the crowd, you're always performing. Jung wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Read that again. Your loneliness isn't absence of people. It's absence of understanding. You're not alone because no one is there. You're alone because the people there don't speak your language. Jung didn't try to fix his loneliness. He used it. He sat in it. He let it teach him. And what he found in that solitude became the foundation of modern psychology. The men who change the world don't do it from the center of the crowd. They do it from the margins, from the workshop, from the tower, from the loneliness they refused to medicate. Your loneliness is not your enemy. It's your invitation. to the journey most men are too afraid to take. The journey into yourself. First lesson: loneliness removes the audience, and without an audience, you stop performing. You finally meet the person you actually are when no one is watching. Real situation. Think about who you are when you're truly alone. No phone, no social media, no one to impress. That person, the one who emerges in silence, is your real self. When's the last time you met him? Why this happens? You've spent so long performing for others that the performance became automatic. Loneliness breaks the script, and that's terrifying and liberating. What you do today: spend 1 hour completely alone. No phone, no music, no podcast, just you and silence. Notice what comes up. Don't judge it, just watch. That's your real self knocking. Second lesson: the herd demands sameness. Your loneliness is the price of refusing to clip your own wings to fit in their cage. Real situation. Every time you shared a genuine opinion and got silence. Every time you showed your real interests and got mocked. Every time you realized you were the only one in the room who thought for yourself. Why this happens? Groups evolve toward the lowest common denominator. Your depth makes you a threat to the group's comfortable shallowness, so they isolate you. Not because you're wrong, because you're right. What you do today: stop asking the herd for permission to be different. Their rejection is not a verdict. It's a confirmation that you're on the right path. Drop this in the comments. I am not the problem. I am the solution they couldn't swallow. Third lesson: no great strategy was ever born in a crowd. Crowds react. Solitude creates. Your loneliness is your war room. Real situation. Your best ideas, the ones that actually worked, came to you when you were alone, in the shower, on a walk, late at night, not in the meeting. Not at the party. Why this happens? In solitude, your brain stops performing and starts processing. It connects dots the crowd drowns out. The greatest innovations came from people who spent years alone. What you do today: schedule 1 hour of strategic solitude every week. No input, only output. Bring a notebook. Ask yourself, what am I missing? What's the real problem? What would I do if no one could judge me? Drop this in the comments. My loneliness is my war room. My silence is my strategy. Fourth lesson: a man who needs the crowd's approval cannot lead the crowd. He can only follow it. Loneliness teaches you to stand alone so you can one day lead from the front. Real situation. Every leader you admire was misunderstood before he was followed. They called him arrogant, difficult, aloof. The same things they call you when you stop seeking their permission. Why this happens? Leadership requires decisions that disappoint people. If you need everyone to like you, you'll make everyone's decision, which means you'll make no decision at all. What you do today: make one decision that you know will displease someone. Not cruelly, just truthfully. Say no when they expect yes. Choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Feel the disapproval. Don't die from it. Fifth lesson: the most dangerous man in any room is the one who is comfortable being alone in that room. He doesn't need them, and they can feel it. Real situation. You've seen it. The guy at the party who doesn't chase validation. The coworker who eats lunch alone without shame. The man who walks into a room and doesn't immediately look for someone to attach to. Why this happens? Neediness is detectable. It's in your posture, your eyes, your voice. The man who doesn't need the room controls the room because he has nothing to lose from leaving it. What you do today: practice being alone in public. Eat a meal by yourself without your phone. Sit in a coffee shop and just observe. Feel the urge to fill the space with distraction? Don't. Let the discomfort teach you. Drop this in the comments. I do not need the room. The room needs to earn me. Sixth lesson: loneliness is a truth serum. When the noise stops, you can't hide from what you actually care about. Most people are terrified of what they'll find. Real situation. When you're alone with no distractions, what do you actually think about? Not what you're supposed to think about. What rises without effort. That's your real values. Why this happens? The crowd
crowd fills your head with their priorities, their emergencies, their dramas. Solitude empties the room so you can see what was already on your table. What you do today, ask yourself in silence, if no one was watching, if no one would ever know, what would I spend my time on? The answer is your true north. Most men never ask. That's why they die wondering. Drop this in the comments. I am not lost. I am finding my true north. 7th lesson. Loneliness doesn't repel the right people. It attracts them. The ones who are also lonely in the crowd will recognize you, and they'll cross the room. Real situation. Think of every real connection you've ever made. Did it happen through desperate networking? Or did it happen when you stopped pretending and someone noticed? Why this happens? Fake attracts fake. Real attracts real. Your willingness to be alone in a crowd is a signal. It says, I am not desperate. I am not for sale. I am looking for something real. That signal reaches the right people. What you do today, stop performing approachability. Stop smiling when you don't mean it. Your genuine face is your filter. Let the shallow people self-select away. The deep ones will stay. This knowledge is for protection, not destruction. You are not learning to hate people. You are learning to stop needing them to validate your existence. That's not misanthropy. That's maturity.
8th lesson. Jung's individuation, becoming a whole, indivisible self, cannot happen in the crowd. The crowd wants you to be a piece of a puzzle. Individuation makes you the entire picture. Real situation. You felt it. The pull between who you really are and who the group wants you to be. Every time you chose the group, you lost a piece of yourself. Every time you chose solitude, you found a piece. Why this happens? Individuation is a solo journey. No one can walk it for you. No one can tell you what you'll find. The crowd can't come with you because the crowd doesn't want you to find what's waiting. What you do today, stop waiting for permission to individuate. The crowd will never give it. They need you in the puzzle. Start spending time alone as an act of self-respect, not self-punishment. Drop this in the comments. I am not a puzzle piece. I am the entire picture. 8 lessons. 8 reasons your loneliness is not your weakness, but your workshop. The crowd doesn't want you to know this. That's why you're hearing it alone. That's not coincidence. That's individuation calling. The old you is dead. The one who checked his phone in silence because the quiet was too loud. The one who said yes to plans he hated because no felt like death. He's not coming back. You are a weapon pointed at your own future. Every lonely night you spent wishing you were elsewhere, you were actually being forged. The hammer was silence. The fire was solitude. And you're almost ready. Individuation is turning the loneliness from a wound into a weapon, not to harm others, but to finally, for the first time, build something that doesn't need anyone's permission to exist. You belong to no one. Not the group that made you feel weird, not the friends who made you perform, not the culture that says alone is broken. You are not a stray. You are a sovereign. The man who masters his solitude cannot be manipulated because manipulation requires leverage, and the man who needs nothing from the crowd has nothing they can take. They will try to pull you back. They'll call you lonely, strange, distant. Let them. Their vocabulary for your growth is not your problem. You're not here to be understood by the shallow. You don't need to be liked. You need to be real, and realness is forged in the fires of solitude. The crowd doesn't make you real. It makes you palatable, and palatable is just pre-digested. The man who embraces his solitude cannot be defeated, not because he's stronger than everyone, but because he's already been to the place they're running from, and he made it a home. You made it to the end. Most people click off when the truth asks them to sit with themselves. You stayed. That's not loneliness. That's readiness. Subscribe. Not because I asked, because you're no longer looking for someone to tell you who to be. You decide what deserves your attention, and this channel speaks the language of the forge. Your first act as the individuating man is to choose. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, or walk away. But know this, if you walk away, the loneliness doesn't leave. It just goes back to being a wound instead of a weapon. Here's your question. Don't answer for me. Answer for the man you're becoming
thing in the silence. What is one thing you've discovered about yourself in your loneliest moment that you're finally grateful you found? Comment your answer, not for me, for the version of you that was forged in the silence. He's been waiting to be heard. Speak for him.